Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon and happy Monday to everyone who is out there. Thank you so much for already tuning in. I see you out there. If you are here, I want to tell you welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Yes, that's right. This is going to be an early edition of Monday Mail in conjunction with Yes, in conjunction with iSurvived 2021. And we are happy today. We are here. So welcome. Thank you all for joining. I want you to take some time right now to like, share, and love this broadcast because today, yes, that's right, today, I am welcoming you to a conversation that is going to be, again, life-changing because of the information that you are going to receive. Today, we want to continue the conversation. It was so wonderful yesterday that we had so many to reach back out and ask, how do pastors take advantage of life insurance and what are some of the benefits that life insurance can yield to pastors? So today's topic is really a good one. How much is the pastor worth? How much is the pastor worth? Oh, yes, I know. I hear you saying it. Oh, my goodness. You're getting ready to find out how much the pastor is really worth. I'm excited about this. So I want you to go ahead, come on in and share. I want you to like, share, and love this broadcast today because, again, it's going to yield great information. Without further ado, because I know the afternoon is swift and the afternoons are extremely busy, especially here on a Monday out here on this social media streets. We know that's busy out here. However, without any further ado, I want to welcome back to this program. I want to welcome back Sable Otay. And if you remember from yesterday, I did mention that she is the marketing director as well as the broker for the Triple M agency. And she has so many different products and gave us so much wonderful information yesterday on life insurance and the church. So life insurance and the church started yesterday with part one. And in this Clergy Appreciation Month, we're going to continue it right here today, part two, because today we're going to be talking about primarily how life insurance affects the pastor as well as the congregants of any church. So membership wise, it's all going to be right here. So don't forget to share. I'm going to actually share, and when she starts talking, I'm going to invite and share as well. But I want to welcome you back, Sable. Thank you so much for providing such great information yesterday that has you back again today on the platform. So I appreciate your willingness to come back and share. And tonight, we welcome you because we're talking about the worth of the pastor. How much is the pastor worth?
That is the question. Thank you so much, Miss TK, for having me back on the call this afternoon. Super excited to be here. And today, I just want you guys to follow me for a second. I'm going to touch on three things. I'm going to touch on the benefits of life insurance and how much the pastor is worth. We're going to focus on three things. Number one is key person. Number two is living benefits. And number three is retirement. Okay. So who's the key person in the church, right? The pastor. Right? We don't get fed if the pastors don't feed us, right? So they're the key person. And you know what? What they're worth is unmatched, right? And so if something happens during the time of the passing of the pastor, many pastors actually will have life insurance. And when they pass away, guess who's the beneficiary, right? The church. How do you think so many churches grow so largely? They do that because they're beneficiaries, right? There's churches right down the street from us that have actually done that. So that's actually really, really cool. On top of that, you have churches that actually also have insurances to the people that matter the most to them. Remember, we're talking about key person. Mother Theola, she want to do the crackers, right? We laugh at that, but she's a massive asset to the church. So you have some churches that will actually have the policies of the mother boards, the deacons, and so in their passing, some of that monies may go to the church and the rest of it may go to the families, right? So that's the key person, right? You can totally do that. You can do that in a business partner situation, but we're talking strictly church, so you can totally do that. Now you're talking about living benefits. So living benefits, very, very, very essential. A living benefit states that if something happened to you while living, heart attack or a stroke or a cancer, lung disease, major injury, major illness, you can actually use the policy while living, right? Many of our pastors, they work really, really hard. Sometimes some things do happen, unfortunately, like a heart attack, like stroke, right? Unforeseen things come like cancer, right? So if in the event that that happens, your life insurance will then kick in. They'll give you up to 90% of how much coverage you have. So let's just say the person has $100,000 in coverage, they can get up to 90 grand. They will rate their injury or their illness, and it'll be a tax-free check. And that money can be utilized to pay the bills, keep the family afloat, find a good doctor, good home care, whatever. Okay, it can be used universally, and that money's tax-free. Okay, and the last one I want to touch on is retirement. I don't think many people know, especially in the Black churches, the pastors don't really come into a system that's set up to help them long term when it comes to them actually being able to still get paid once they're done pastoring the churches, right? You have many pastors that are still working full-time jobs as well, right? So this is a way that we can actually not only be fed by the pastor, but I feel like it's only right for us to feed the pastor too. That's the only way we can repay them, right? Of course, like following the scripture, following the teaching, but they pour into us. Why not pour into them? So you have a policy to where some of their you can actually put the monies into the policy that's paid by the congregation, and it's going to a cash value account. And that account is actually accruing interest, right? And when that account actually accrues interest, that money can be leveraged to pay a retirement for the pastor, right? So you have that. And again, this is just a way that we can actually make sure that we're taking care of who's taking care of us in the church. We can take care of our pastors that way, right? I feel like it's completely worth it because they give so much of themselves and their time to us. We're there, they're there when we need them. And so that's another way that we can actually help when it comes to retirement. You can actually have a retirement fund set up inside of your life insurance policy.
Wow, that's amazing information. And I see here you've spoken about key person being the pastor being the key person in this whole equation, as well as with the living benefits and retirements, as well as the cash value. I do want to go back to something that you stated about the living benefit for the pastor. Can you just expound a little bit more on the living benefit and how this can actually, let's just say the pastor already has a life insurance policy. Can we talk about how these benefits can actually either be attached to what they already have, or is this just only something for somebody who does not have a working policy right now?
Okay, so for those that do have an older school policy, okay, you cannot attach living benefits to it. Everything evolves. Insurance evolves, just like the cell phone, right? You had a pager at first, and now you got iPhone 12 or 13, or you might be a Samsung user. I don't know. I ain't gonna judge you. Not just
yeah. I am a Samsung user, and y'all, please don't judge me because I'm not gonna judge you.
Right. Yeah, I'm an iPhone user. It's okay. You're okay with me. So again, those insurances evolve. And a lot of times, if you do have an older school policy, it's probably $20, $30. I tell a lot of my people, just keep it because it's cheap. But you want to get you an evolutionized policy, that policy that does have living benefits. And I'll put a video in the comment section later. It's like 3 minutes. And it shows you basically an analysis between the old phone and the newer phone, and basically the old policy and the new policy. And a lot of the older policies don't have living benefits. And so we work with several different companies that do allow your policy to have living benefits, like Mutual of Omaha, American National, National Life Group, John Hancock. People have heard of many of these companies. But yeah, you would have to get an additional policy to actually have those living benefits.
Now, can you tell me why so many pastors, especially in the African American church, can you talk about the fact that they don't have insurance, and where that idea comes from, and perhaps maybe give them some motivation or injection of knowledge to let them know how important life insurance really is, especially for the pastor?
It's very, very important. I was actually talking to a very prestigious bishop, and she was telling me that it's important that we talk more to the pastors in the community about the importance of having insurance. Now, I don't know why some pastors don't have it. I can't speak on that. And maybe they're not thinking about it, or they're putting their self last, as on the level of importance. And we put ourselves last all the time, where we're trying to make sure everybody else is getting taken care of, and like, oh, we forgot to take care of ourselves. That could be one of the main reasons. And then, of course, as well, just the lack of knowledge too that comes with it. I think all those kind of play a role when it comes to not being properly insured. So I think that if we talk more about it, if we educate one another more about it, then more of us would actually be properly covered. But I just thought that that was pretty, profound when she was telling me that, hey, many of the pastors don't have policies in place. We actually just had to do a fundraiser, a couple weeks ago, and I was like, wow, especially being that the church is the place of help. When the first thing the person passes away, the congregation, the church members are gonna come and say, I need your help. So again, it's more so of them pouring more into others, like you said, self-care, right? That's insurance, right? It's more so of us just really focusing on taking care of the community and not really taking care of self. So
Well, I'm really excited to hear you saying all of this, because I think that insurance
I think we lost her, guys.
and we're still here. We're still here.
There we go. All right.
we are, we're managing all of this in this space. We're managing all of this in the space, and that's okay. And that's fine. So that's totally all right. It's still great information, and we're going to pick back up what we were saying. We were stating that self-care is actually having insurance on yourself. It is actually a form of self-care, and when you don't have self-care, when you don't have insurance, you're really, neglecting something that is very, very vital, very important to you and your family. You and your family. And you talked yesterday so intricately about how the GoFundMe accounts and things of that nature they're good when we have to use them, but so many times we won't have to use them if we put the necessary precautions and the necessary procedures in place in order to make our lives a lot easier and a lot better. Now, do people sleep better at night, Sable, when they have insurance?
They absolutely do. And just speaking of that, I actually received a phone call from a family member that actually did not have life insurance. And I gave an offering as well. I wrote a check out, and it's just for those cases, like, you don't have time to properly grieve because you're trying to figure out how you're gonna take care of those last needs that the person needs for their burial. So, it's very, very important. And every time I get an email saying that the beneficiary has been paid out, I just smile. It's just like, I can't bring back that person, but at least I know they have time to grieve. At least I know that they were properly protected, and money's not going to bring them back or anything like that. But whatever they were leaving behind, whatever they were contributing to their household, at least that money that they're getting is going to be able to take that load off of them. So, I just think of that, and I'm pretty sure they slept much better. It just brings a smile to my heart just to know that. So
Yeah, and that's why this conversation is so vital. And so many times, again, we think about insurance in just the light of death, but we do need to start thinking about insurance in the perspective of life, and how the living benefits, and how the cash value, and how setting up for retirement really is so important. I do want you to touch on one thing before we wrap this session up. I do want you to touch on the pastors who do not work. So perhaps maybe they're stating, I don't have an additional job outside of my congregation. And perhaps maybe their congregation is not prepared or set up to give them resources to a large extent where they feel like they can afford insurance. And so many times that's really the problem. A lot of the insurance policies lapse. Even the policies on their churches, because they don't have the resources, or feel as though they don't have the necessary resources to fund these in this these insurance accounts. So can you talk to the pastor who has a very small congregation, very few resources, and no job?
Well, I would say starting out with something small, okay? Because when we're talking about retirement, you want to kind of fund it. The last policy I just put into place, they were putting anywhere between $4,800 up a month, and it just varies depending on the church and how much they want to budget. And of course, it's a tax write-off too, just so you know. But you can start very, very small.
So
You don't
are
have
you
to.
saying the church is creating this policy for the pastor, or just the pastor as an individual?
So when you set it up, you set it up with the pastor, but the monies come from the church, right? So depending on you can kind of go with the CPA or whoever the person is that's over the monies to kind of determine that. We do sit down and we do like an analysis. I was trying to see if I had. We do sit down and do like a financial analysis so we can kind of see that. But it's ultimately up to the financial persons of the church or the CPA or however they do their finances. Now, as far as having something set up, we can find something like a basic whole life just to make sure they have coverage until they're able to fund, until the church is able to build and grow, because that's essentially where the money's come from. Again, the pastors are feeding us. We got to feed them too. We got to fill them up. So that's one of our ways of showing our gratitude towards our pastors, is actually being able to make sure that they have stability when they're done pouring into us and they're ready to pass the torch on to the next pastor. So again, people, the misconception about insurance too, one of the biggest misconception is number one, I got to pay today. You ain't got to pay today. You can push your payment out. Okay. I just helped somebody today. They're not paying till the 15th. Number two, it's very expensive. It's not very expensive, right? It just depends on what you're looking to get. I just did a burial policy for like $63. So not very expensive at all. And again, they didn't have to pay that $63 today, right? So it typically just kind of depends on the state of the church and what they're actually looking to do. We kind of sit down and put out a financial plan for that too. And then how open is the church talking about finances, right? So that's very, very important. That's all important as far as the teaching as well, because we want our church and our congregation to be wealthy, right? We want wealth. We want everybody to be wealthy, and then we can pour more into our leader, here on this earth. So
Well, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because the pastor certainly is worthy of that, reciprocity from the congregation. They are certainly worthy of that. So for those pastors out there who are not working, and you feel like you just don't have the means, and you feel like, hey, I cannot afford this. You just heard it right here, that you can afford it. It is affordable. Life insurance is very important, not just for death. And I want to keep reiterating that although it sounds very morbid, and although it's something that you may want to shun away from right now, because you may feel like, hey, I'm in the height of my life. There are a lot of young pastors out there, just as well as there are chronologically more mature pastors. However, even young pastors need to understand that life insurance is fundamental. It's very important, and actually having those elements in place really does make for a really well-rounded ministry. Well-rounded ministry. It's just like your household. Go ahead, Sable.
no. I was just saying I completely agree with you, because when I first started learning the industry, as it pertains to the Black community, they say we think of life insurance as a backup plan. Whereas the Caucasian community think of life insurance as a foundation. They said we build our houses upside down. So we don't think about it until like, oh my God, Pookie died, or oh my God, somebody got cancer, let me get insurance. I can't tell you how many people from the Black community call me and say, this person has stage 4 cancer. And I'm like, baby, you should have called me like 2 years ago when we were initially talking about it, right? Before this cancer was found, because he would be covered by the living benefits. So again, it's all about perception and what we learn about it, just educating more about this and not trying to scare people on it. Again, thinking about it as a foundational piece. Just as we thinking about, getting our updated, purses or whatever it is that you want to put that as part of your foundation as well. So that's just kind of triggered that when you said that.
Yes. So, saints, let's not build our houses upside down. I'm telling you, I don't want to live in an upside down house. And that's the thing. We don't want to be retroactive when it comes to life insurance policies and living benefits and all of these different things that create. Can you just talk just a little bit about the generational wealth creation piece? We talked a little bit about it yesterday, but I really want to just expand on how just this one element of what we call life insurance, it has evolved. This industry has evolved to where you can actually create generational wealth with life insurance policies.
Right. So of course, during the payoff for the policy, that money's tax free, number one, and that could be the start of the change for your family's trajectory forever. You leave $100,000, $200,000, they can turn that money into something where they're actually starting their own businesses and things like that. I was actually listening to a motivational speaker, and he said he was naming things that we all very familiar with, like Welch's grape juice, Walgreens, Kroger's, the local store, Procter and Gamble. He's naming all these names, and he's like, you know what? Those are last names. Those names are wealthy last names, and they come from, some of them actually come from insurance, right? People are like, how am I going to obtain something as powerful or as, generationally financially stable as these guys have? And a lot of them come from insurance, right? Everybody doesn't come from money, but who's to say we cannot leave that for our children and for generations behind us? So insurance is one of the number one ways you can actually create that generational wealth.
Yes, and I love that how you just stated, these are not just brands. These are names, these are families, these are foundational last names that we're calling as we're shopping or drinking that product or utilizing how much of Procter and Gamble do we use on a daily basis. You don't even think about it until you actually look at the last name, and you see this on products like toothpaste and toilet tissue and everyday uses that, everything that we're using on a daily basis. Somebody had to create that generational wealth. Now, of course, we're not praying for any detriment on anybody. But we are talking about this in the light of really trying to plan and really offer information that speaks to the idea that we are stewards of our lives. We are stewards. We've been given borrowed time. We've been given a lease on life. And with that lease on life, it's our responsibility now to manage that. And so as we're managing this lease on life, and we're talking about the key person, which again is the pastor, living benefits, retirement, and cash value, we need to start thinking in that mind frame that retirement and cash value, you don't have to retire broke. You don't have to be broke. There are so many different ways. And can you speak to the retirement piece of that? Go ahead.
And when you said that, because me and my husband worked the business full time, and it's funny because I used to always say, I ain't gonna never learn nothing from him because he was Navy. But it's crazy because I was listening to him speak, and he was like, retirement is not an age, it's a number, right? Because people think when you get this certain age, oh, it's time for me to retire. But it's like, what you gonna retire with, right? So just that, like just that whole scenario, and then I was very happy today because I had a young lady. She's 26 years old, and she set up her retirement. I was just so my heart, like I was just want to jump out my chair because now you're seeing like I got to start this stuff and I got to start it now. Even though you don't have to pay anything right away, you don't have to start investing right away. It's like you're making that first step to putting it into place. right? So it's very, very important because a lot of us have not done because we have not known, right? And so now once you get the information, it's like, okay, like you said yesterday, you know better, you do better, right? And so you do have the instances where it is unfortunate to where some people are not able to start saving. But then you have those that are, you want to go ahead and start taking control of your future, taking control of your income, right? And it starts with making those small steps, not only protecting your life, but now you have a vehicle where you can do both. It's dual, where you can protect your life, you can also protect your assets and build wealth while living. So it's very, very, very important. And I just love the benefits. I get more and more intrigued. I felt like I was kind of dorky for just getting so excited about it, but just getting more and more intrigued. I'm like, man, these people, wealthy people, all colors, right? It's not just Caucasian people. It's wealthy people all around, and they're like using this stuff like to their advantage, and we're like behind the power curve because we don't know anything about it.
Well, let's not be behind the power curve. We're going to catch up. We're going to catch up and put this information in place. Knowledge that's not used is not knowledge at all. We have to utilize the knowledge and we have to apply the knowledge. So I want to take this time to tell you thank you so much, Sable, once again for joining me on this segment and just really pouring out the information. Again, as I stated yesterday, when you go and hear this type of information, you're normally having to pay for it. So I certainly appreciate you offering your time and speaking to us about the worth of the pastor and giving us, the congregants and members, just an open idea, an open mindset of how we can certainly make the process easy and really understand how we can pour into that church and what we love so much. So in this clergy appreciation month, I want to certainly tell you thank you for all of your time and attention. Everyone out there who chimed in, those of you all who have this knowledge now, I want to tell you thank you so much for sharing the information. Yes, and indeed it is, Manisha. It is valuable information. And you also state that your business partner is the best. Yes, and I do believe that Solo has a lot of information to offer. So people out there, churches out there, if you want her to come and speak to you, if you want to go to her, give us really quickly where you're located and how we can get in touch with you.
Yes, we're actually located here in Cordova, 860 Willow Tree Circle. We have a local office here. We're in Suite 103. You can reach me. You can find me on Facebook. Is actually my name. Again, not Sable Butterfly 23, but Sable Ote on Facebook and on social media. And then my contact number, I'll put it in the chat as well, but it's 901-337-3966.
Thank you so much for your time, everyone. This has been wonderful. It has been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you, Sable, for sharing. And I want to just give you a shout out. This is the United States of America bobsledder champion. Yes, and yes. And I just wanted to put that out there as well. So thank you for sharing this with the community. And thank you so much for being here once again. Well, you all, that's my time. Thank you so much. We are growing together. We are growing together. And this is information that can be used for time past today. So please go back, listen to this, share it with somebody who needs it. God bless everyone. I love you. Thank you so much for chiming in. Until next time, you've been tuned in to Working the Dash with TK, and I'm your girl, TK. And what we're going to do, what are we going to do? We're going to continue to maximize the middle. We are not going to grow old, Sable. We're going to grow better. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful evening.